I just turned one of my buddies on to The Secret, and while I don't agree with everything in The Secret and how it's kind of laid out, I think the main idea of it is important to get inside of you, just so you can realize that our thoughts really do become things, and for you to realize that that's part of this whole dynamic of life. But the thing is, the next day he was basically like, came out of the gate, like he was being positive and telling everybody else around him, like, don't even be negative around me. And dude, it's to be expected. I swear to God, like after I seen that video, it's like I got shot out of a cannon. It took me a minute to come down. But the thing is, like whenever I first seen it, it's all about positivity and how you draw positive circumstances to you and repel positive circumstances whenever you're negative. And so it's like, okay, you just got to be positive. And the thing with that is, it took me probably, and this may be a really long time to get this mindset and break out of it, but dude, it probably took me like 3 or 4 years of just trying to examine the positive side of life before I was like, there's something off here. And so I've basically been learning to apply The Secret in practical steps for about the last 9 years now, and really working it out. But that being said, I think I can collapse his time a little bit, so I'm making a video for him. I simply am trying to say, whenever I'm just focused on nothing but the positive side of life, then I'm missing an entire dynamic of life, all right? It's like the yin and yang. You got the positive and you got the negative. So if I'm just focused on the positive side, then I'm literally not even dealing with reality. It can get to the point where you're actually turning a blind eye to potential threats to your business or just things that can come within your sphere that you actually need to be ready for. And so there's this whole concept that God is all. It's called the law of oneness. And that being said, that means good, bad, ugly, everything, all. And I'm kind of painting a picture here. The thing is, you actually really don't know what is positive and negative. It's relative. Is this box big that I'm holding up? Well, I don't know. Compared to what? A bigger box? It depends on what you're comparing it to. So really, our view of what is negative and what is positive is only within our limited framework. And how many of you have lived through something that seemed like it was a very detrimental event, but good came from it? So the thing is, I noticed that whenever I was just sitting there trying to dwell on the positive, it's like I blocked my entire self off from an entire thought process that was actually going to be and make me more of a complete human being. All right, and we'll talk about leaving things up to chance. Whenever you're in business, especially, you want to make sure that you plan for all the negatives and you plan for all the positives. Because if you plan for the worst, you can expect the best. Worst case scenario, I have already planned for it, and you basically don't leave any loose ends in your foundation or any cracks in your foundation. So whenever you proceed, you know that you've got all those bases covered. Like, there's nowhere to go but forward. So I feel like if you're just trying to really dwell on the positive, then you're literally leaving yourself vulnerable. Actually, what you're doing is you can get in a break with the reality where you're hiding your eye from things you should actually be taken into consideration. And another thing is the way the psyche works is I've noticed that whenever I enter into a situation, I'll have the positive side be like, oh, this is awesome. And then the negative will be like, I don't know, man, there's this about it. But I have found whenever I actually go through that process, boom, I've actually got the complete picture on things. And it's shored up my foundation in logical thinking and all of that stuff. And it's kind of like whenever you go to a job for the first time, and it's like, man, the pay's good, the hours are good, the people are cool, and about the first 5 or 6 months, you see all the positive about it. And then after that, once you've got exposed to the positive, then you start seeing some of the negative stuff. And then like the next 6 months is just like, damn it, everybody's an asshole. Like, they don't pay me enough. They don't recognize me. You know, all of this stuff. The hours are starting to, wear on me. If you weather that storm, you went through the positive and then through the negative, eventually it just gets to the point where it's like, it is what it is. And you've dealt with everything. So if you can actually keep your feet planted through that process and realize that's actually the natural process that's going to occur, it's actually going to be good. And one other story I'm going to end with, it's on the Charlie Wilson's War. It's on that movie, and he talks about it. He basically says that, and it goes back to the whole, you don't know what's positive, you don't know what's actually negative in the grand scheme of things. Like, you just don't have the perspective view. So the story was basically there was this kid in a village, he got a horse, and everybody in the village was like, oh, how nice, how wonderful. And there was like an old master, like an elder, And the village is like, we'll see. And then the kid was riding the horse one day, fell off the horse and broke his leg. And all the villagers were like, oh my God, how terrible. And the elder was like, we'll see. And then there was a war that broke out. The government or whoever it was came to recruit young men for the war. And since the kid had a broken leg and he was maimed now, he didn't have to go fight in the war. And everybody else in the village is like, oh my God, how wonderful. And the elder's like, we'll see. So I think it's a fitting story for what I'm trying to go into, because unless I can come to the full picture of what is actually truly going on, for one, I can't reach a full conclusion that is actually applicable to the real world. And then also, I'm leaving myself exposed to a lot of events that if I would actually just dare to look at them, and not dare to look at them, like now I'm to the point where it's like, I just let my mind go. I'm on the negative, I'm on the positive, and it's almost like there's this little battle that goes on between them until you're like, okay, I've weighed all the potential pros, I've weighed all the potential cons, and now I'm on a logical, firm foundation. So it's actually part of the, I think, right and left hemisphere of the brain, how it works together. The female and the male side, the reptilian side versus the creative side. And I actually think that that's the reason government is set up the way it is too, with the right and the left wing. Well, you can't just put something into play. You've got to have both sides go through that struggle and even it out without extremes. Technically, that's how it should work. I'm just saying. Kind of represents the two sides of the brain, and a government under God, God is the yin and yang. It's both positive and negative. This is existence. This is how I want things to be. Yin and yang, positive and negative. So I don't know, man. Just making this video for people who come out the gate wanting to be really positive with the mindset in The Secret and wanting to attract things to them, which it's totally possible. I believe in The Secret. Although I think that your hand has to hit the plow. You can't just think it into existence, so there's some dynamics to it. I think the faster that you allow the negative side in and you start harnessing the power of the dark side and the negative side, then you've got the complete picture on life, and you can actually reach logical, applicable conclusions that work in the real world. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please share, like, and subscribe for more content. Hit the notification bell below so you can get all of my stuff that's coming out. If you guys like this video, then you're really going to like this next one. Go ahead and click on it. It's just going to give you that much more motivation and tools for the day. Alright guys, peace.